with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. Broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella, and it is Friday, which means we end the week for you the only way we know how, for 30 minutes from 7 to 7:30. The Rome Show 1, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. If you want to get in on the action on this Friday, we're talking Major League Baseball trade deadline that ended last night at 6 p.m. And we are continuing our 32 teams in 32 days in preparation for the start of the National Football League season. We will be breaking down the Denver Broncos and starting the AFC West today. If you want to get in on any of the action, just head to youtube.com/12OZ Sports and you can comment live on the show, x.com/12OZ Sports as well. The Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, just search the Rome Show podcast. We started 32 NFL teams in 32 days with the NFC West. So head to wherever you listen to podcasts, get to the Rome Show podcast, and besides hitting subscribe, you can also listen to our NFC West breakdown. A lot going on in Major League Baseball. The trade deadline was last night, and it was very active. We started the show yesterday talking about all of the different trades that were happening. A few more went down yesterday that I think are worthy of our time. First and foremost, Carlos Correa of the Minnesota Twins is now Carlos Correa of the Houston Astros, where Carlos Correa played majority of his career. Not only are the Twins sending Carlos Correa to the Astros, they're also paying $33 million of his over $100 million salary remaining. So whatever was going on there in Minnesota, they're ready to be done with Carlos Correa to the point where they are paying dollars to send him back to the Astros. Astros really trying to make a playoff push here, as are the San Diego Padres, who picked up two yesterday in Mason Miller and JP Sears from the Padres. The Phillies, they are in the wild card hunt. They currently hold a wild card spot, not far behind the Metsies for the NL East. They got Joan Duran, okay, from the Minnesota Twins. You're going to hear a common theme here, okay? The Minnesota Twins, heavy sellers at the trade deadline, which is interesting because they've had some streaks this year where they've won 6-7 in a row. And it's felt like they could have been a playoff contending team, but they currently stand at 51-57. They are 12 games back in the AL Central, and in the wild card, they currently stand 6 games back. So it's not crazy far-fetched to think that the Minnesota Twins could make a run here and make it to the postseason, especially with the wild card being 3 spots, but their franchise did not feel that way, and they have been heavy sellers, making about 4 or 5 trades to this point. A few other moves. The Phillies also picked up Harrison Bader. The New York Metropolitans, they also picked up Cedric Mullins to help build their outfield depth. He was a San Francisco Giant. The Cubbies, they picked up Willie Castro, super utility guy. And the New York Yankees, they picked up Jose Caballero, the shortstop. And then they also got 2 relievers in Jake Bird and Camilo Duvall, as well as a closer in David Bednar. This was just to name a few. If you go to your local AI machine, okay, whatever AI you want to utilize, okay, I utilize Microsoft Copilot for moments like this. If you go to your local AI unit and type in all Major League Baseball trades from, let's say, July 30 to July 31's trade deadline at 6 p.m., it is wild how much movement was going on. And what it really just shows you is what teams are truly buying by definition of the trade deadline terminology and what teams are truly selling by definition of trade deadline terminology. And I have to give the Yankees their props here, okay? Because all year, we've been talking about third base play. We've been talking about shortstop play. We've been talking about relief pitching. We've been saying that the Yankees are good, but are they good enough to win the World Series? Well, clearly Brian Cashman said, okay, we know we're good enough to be in the postseason. You know, arguably our roster is probably top 6 to top 8 in the league, but our roster is not top 1 in the league. Our roster is not good enough as it is currently put together to make us a World Series champion. So unlike last year, where we felt like the Yankees might not have done enough and glaring issues sat in front of our faces for 162 games, and then unfortunately they make the World Series and they barely compete with the Los Angeles Dodgers. This year, you flip the script, and Brian Cashman's doing everything he can to hopefully fix some issues on this ball club. First and foremost with Anthony Volpe. Okay, now, when you look at some of his offensive numbers compared to other shortstops in the league, he's a top 12 offensive shortstop in the league by certain numbers. Okay, key word there, certain numbers. But his defense, which should have been the best attribute for this young man, drafted speed and defense, best two attributes. The defense really is not there. Okay? And the whole package, not fully there. And you're in a time period, if you're the New York Yankees, where you're trying to figure out what is Anthony Volpe? Who is he going to be? Is this who he is? Or are we going to continue to trend? Because in my opinion, at least on the offensive side, there has been a slight trend towards being better long term. Okay? He's a great base runner, and he's supposed to be a great defender. But right now, you're not getting the package with which you drafted a player out of high school in the first round to be your starting shortstop. You're not getting what you expected out of that situation. So Brian Cashman and the New York Yankees doing a fantastic job. To finish on the Volpe's point, hitting .215. He's got 58 RBIs. He has 12 stolen bases and 16 home runs in 386 at-bats. He's struck out 103 times. And see, for me, that's not a great number. 1 in every 3.5 at-bats, you're going down with a strikeout. And it's not the same as your teammate counterpart, Aaron Judge, where when you look at Aaron Judge, he's got 120 strikeouts on the year, but he's hitting 342 with 85 RBIs and 37 homers. Okay, so, and an OPS of 1,160. Wins above replacement at 6.6. Okay? So if you're going to have a statistic that jumps off the page as being not your best statistic, you should really be making up for it in a lot of other areas, and that's exactly what Aaron Judge has been doing, though we'll see what happens when he comes back from the injury. But I give the Yankees and Brian Cashman a really good grade for this trade deadline because I think they did a fantastic job of attempting to address the needs that they had. The Metsies, I thought, did a pretty good job as well, bolstering the bullpen, adding some defensive outfield help, adding some offensive help. You've been a little bit too streaky from Lindor, from Soto, and a little bit Alonso this year. And those three have to be right. And I'm a firm believer in this. Didn't matter what the Mets did at the trade deadline. The last 45 games of the year has to be the most consistent that three-headed monster is for the New York Metropolitans, or they won't be happy with the end of this season. Do I think they'll be in the postseason? Probably. But if those three dudes, don't show up the way we expect them to show up, the last 20% of this season, it will not be the happy end the Mets fans are looking for. In the wild cards on both sides, the Yankees lead for the AL and the Cubs lead for the NL. The 3 wild card teams right now in the AL are the Yankees, 2.5 games up on the Mariners, and 1 game up on the Red Sox. So it's Yankees, Red Sox, Seattle, and then in the National League, it's Cubs, Phillies, Padres. The Cubs are up 3.5 on the Padres, who are 1.5 games behind the Phillies. The Phillies are 2 games back of 1.5 games back of the Cubbies. That's where it stands. In the NL, not as tight of a race in the wild card. Cincinnati's starting to fall back a little bit. So is St. Louis and San Francisco. You probably saw a little bit of seller in San Francisco. Funny, because they traded for Jeremy Duran, whatever his name is, Jaron Duran, a month ago or so now. They were good. Now they're not as good. Isn't that funny, man? I think it's funny how we forget that talent is not the only driver to success. And even at the highest level, even at Major League Baseball levels, Durant comes into that locker room, not a great team guy. All of a sudden, San Francisco 49, San Francisco Giants, that's great. San Francisco Giants, not as good no more. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to the trade deadline and you're sellers. You're only 6.5 back of the wild card. And it was definitely not that case about a month ago. So as much as we get excited on paper with these deals, you just don't know. You don't know until the clubhouse gets integrated. You don't know until these players start playing in their new city. I mean, it's a lot. You've been seeing videos all over Instagram and Twitter, right? Oh, this guy, Sir Anthony Dominguez, was playing for this team, the Orioles, and then or the Rays or the Blue Jays or one of the AL East teams against the Yankees, and then he got traded mid-game, and you're watching him walk out, and then he plays in the second game of a doubleheader. This guy was from the Twins. Now he's wearing Pirates. You see it, and to us, the person not dealing with the guy's making millions, but just go. You get traded, deal with it. It's like there's a lot going on there. If he's got a family, if he's been in that organization for the entirety of his career, this is his 3rd trade in half a year, and he's tired of moving around. Like, so many factors. So the trade deadline on paper usually always great, but that's why these trades don't always equate to what you expect them to equate to, because there's so many other factors and there's so many other variables that come down to whether or not that trade will be successful. So when you look at it, it's August 1st. You're in a 7-week sprint right now in Major League Baseball to get to the end. We'll do a quick little, let's figure out how long this thing goes here. I believe it's September 21st. We'll figure it out and we'll let you know. But late September, oh yeah, it might be the 21st of September. That is the last day of the season, 28th. September 28th. Last day of Major League Baseball season. So you are 7 weeks away. No time. All right. You either making your run now or you're out. And you're going home and you're getting your golf ready. Here, when we get back from this commercial break, we got NFL training camp. 32 teams in 32 days. We are going out west. We're heading to Colorado. We're going mile high, and we're going to talk about the Denver Broncos. Just remember, you got some opinions or thoughts on the upcoming football season, youtube.com/12OZ Sports, or follow us on Twitter, The Rome Show 1, and you can comment live on this show or tweet at us your thoughts. I'm always a fan of people disagreeing with me as much as I am people agreeing with me. Andrew Romanella, The Rome Show listener, 12-ounce sports. Back after this.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sports book, click on your bet and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Yeah, the Rome Show. Woo! 12ouncesports.com. Broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I shouldn't have to say it, but I'm going to keep saying it just to make sure you like and subscribe, and then you share it with a friend. We're here 98.5% of Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning. We also reproduce the show as a podcast. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, just search The Rome Show Podcast. We've been doing something. We started this last week, and we are going to bring this all the way through the first week in September for the National Football League season start. We've been calling it 32 teams in 32 days. It's our NFL training camp tour. Now, obviously, I wish I could be flying to each NFL training camp and giving you an in-person live breakdown, but we are not there yet. We will be one day. So for now, we stay virtual with the people for our NFL training camp, 32 teams and in 32 days. Today, we start the AFC West, breaking down the Bo Nix, Sean Payton-led Denver Broncos. Let's key the theme music, and let's get 32 teams in 32 days. Go win. All right, the people. How we doing? I know it's been me for 20 minutes, so I don't know why I would say that. Okay. The Denver Broncos of the AFC West finishing 10-7 last season and making the playoffs. Yes, that is correct. I'll tell you what, Sean Payton came in, blew the entire thing up, got rid of Russell Wilson, ruffled some feathers. Things were looking like it was going south. They draft Bo Nix out of Oregon, and 365 days later, you're getting ready for the third season of Sean Payton, the second season of Bo Nix, and you are looking at a potential top 8 team in this league. I don't believe they're a Super Bowl contender yet, but their first step is, can we get to the postseason and can we win a game? 10-7 last season behind aforementioned first-round pick, 12th overall, Bo Nix. He threw for 3,775 yards during the 2024 season, 29 TDs, and 12 interceptions. He also added 430 rushing yards for the Broncos. Clearly, somebody that proves, hey, this kid can be a franchise quarterback. However, a key in being a long-term sustainable quarterback in the National Football League is your adjustability, okay? Especially year 1 to year 2. Think about at any age level how everyone talks about the sophomore slump being a thing. Why is that? Well, it's a few different things, but I'm going to give you 2 of them. First off, it's motivation, okay? How about that? I had a great rookie year. I might not think I need to be that motivated, so I'm going into my second year, and oh my God, I forgot people are getting better, and therefore now I am not as good as I was rookie year. Or two, this tape is out on you. The league knows who you are. The league feels like they know how to play you. The league knows how to adjust to you, and therefore you have to adjust off of that to figure out how you can have another elite year. After that, okay, years 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, unless there's a drastic situation that happens, unless you go from first 6 years in the league, Alex Smith looked like he was a bust, to next 10 years in the league, people wanted to trade for him and possibly have him be their franchise quarterback for a few years, right? Unless that drastic something or else happens, okay, year 3 and beyond, you are who we thought you were for the most part, okay? So let's see what year 2 is in store for Bo Nix. The Broncos, they got some offensive help for their young gunslinger. 2 running backs, J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. Now, I don't know if this is going to be right or not. Dobbins was a Charger last year, ran for 905 and 9 TDs. Pretty solid year. Harvey is a second-round draft pick out of the University of Central Florida. Nonetheless, though, addressing a need they felt that they had at the running back position. Evan Ingram signs as a tight end alongside Cortland Sutton on the outside, who's a wide receiver. 2 really good options there for Bo Nix. Every great quarterback needs a great tight end. Or let's take that back. Every great quarterback should have a really solid tight end they can throw the ball to 3 to 5 times a game, collect 40 to 60 yards, maybe a TD, and especially save some broken down plays. Hopefully Evan Ingram can be that for Bo Nix. And hey, by the way, on the flip side, you're returning the best defensive line stats or sack-wise, in the league. Last year, Denver's defensive line led the league in sacks with 63, okay? And they were 3rd in scoring defense and 10th overall back on the offensive side in scoring offense. You look at those 3 numbers, okay? Then you add in the fact that they were top 10 in turnover margin at +6. That is why they were a playoff team, okay? You can score points on defense. You can score points on offense. You can limit points on defense, and you win the turnover battle. That right there is a key for this Denver Broncos team. Were they good enough to be in the playoffs? Yes. Okay. Were they as good as us believing that they can take the next step and win the AFC West this year? I don't think so. Okay. Because you have a really hard schedule if you're the Broncos. You play the Chiefs twice. Then you also have the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Texans, okay? So you're looking at a schedule that does not necessarily bode well, and you haven't even mentioned the fact that you also have to play the Raiders, who have Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, and a retooled team, and the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert and gang. So this is not an easy division by any stretch of the imagination. You have to keep that defense elite. Well, it's going to be a little difficult because you lost some guys, but I think your additions are better than your subtractions. Again, goes back to that MLB trade deadline concept, though. How do these guys fit into the locker room? On paper, good moves. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw, safety Talanoa Hufanga, and then use a first-round pick on a linebacker in Jabral Barron. Okay, so making decisions and moves in the offseason, you bring your entire coaching staff back, okay, from head coach to offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. That consistency going into the sophomore year of Bo Nix, looking to make this team that much better, is going to be key for the Denver Broncos. They did lose some players, okay, but I don't think anybody that they lost was necessarily that big. The 2 linebackers, Cody Barton and Zach Cunningham, were the biggest ones. And it's Jahdae Barron, not Jabon Barron. That's on me, misreading my own handwriting. That's why sometimes you just got to go to the computer. So let's finish this thing, okay? If you're looking at some of the numbers right now, the Denver Broncos have the 11th best odds to win the Super Bowl at +2,500. To win the AFC Championship, they have the 4th best odds at plus 1,300. The three teams ahead of them in the AFC with better odds to win the AFC would be the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens. And to quote myself from earlier and the famous Arizona Cardinals coach from a bunch of years back, they are who we thought they were. That's exactly what we thought it would be. If I asked you to choose three teams in the AFC that have the best chance to win the AFC championship game and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, it would be those three. But the Broncos, plus 1,300 right there, shows you how close they are to being a contender. And by the way, Vegas ain't always that wrong, right? There are some always times Vegas is going to be wrong, but there's a lot of times you're looking at Vegas and you're going, yep, they were right. 100%. To win the AFC West, plus 300. The Chiefs in that light are favored minus 120. Okay, here's the last one. The over-under win total right now for the Broncos is 9.5. They won 10 last season. I'm going to take the over, but I'm not taking the over by a lot. I'm taking the over to finish 10-7 again. Do I think that's good enough to be a playoff team? I don't know, because there's so many other factors outside of just can the Broncos get better, okay? You are in a division with the Chiefs. You are in a division with the Los Angeles Chargers. Those two teams believe they can go and compete for a Super Bowl. The Chiefs were in the Super Bowl last season. So are you good enough to get out of your own division, let alone you have the 15th hardest schedule in the National Football League next year? You put all that stuff into the mixing bowl and you say, you know what? I believe they're good enough to be over 500 at 9-8. I just don't know if they're good enough to be that deep into the double-digit wins category, especially if their line is set at 9.5. So I'm going to say that this Denver Broncos team finishes at another 10-7 clip, good enough to make the postseason, but they will or they won't based on the other X Factor teams in the AFC. That is your 32 teams in 32 days, Denver Broncos edition. I've been saying it for the 5 days we've been doing it. We will take this all the way to the start of National Football League season. If you missed any of our breakdowns, just head to the podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, just search the Rome Show podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. I hope you have a fantastic Friday. We will be back on Monday at 7 a.m. to continue our NFL camp breakdown and so much more, because that's what we do here on the Rome Show. Andrew Romanella saying, have an electric Friday. And until Monday, peace.
Thank you for listening.